over 2.5 decades, digital cinema has revolutionized the movie-going experience and the way that both producers and we the audience interact with the modern film industry. As we are constantly given more and more options to watch the films that we love, the creators of those films are constantly given more and more ways to be experimental, to take risks and evolve and expand the way in which these films are even made. As Dr. Orit Fussfeld-Cohen put it, the real-time capabilities provided by digital systems allows the correction of problems in continuity or lighting during the shootings. Digital post-production facilitates the recreation of the desired atmosphere after the fact. What's all that got to do with Rango? This is all simply down to the emergence of digital media in the 1990s. And by the early 2010s, at the time of the ever-glorious Rango, it had become an unstoppable force in the film industry. Simply being able to collect some quick test shots in a DSLR camera and immediately being able to use that as reference before the big guns came out for the main shoot has drastically improved how easily and manageable the quality of a film can be. In the case of Rango, its reference footage for the animators was rather peculiar. That entire scenes were performed by the voice actors, shot and choreographed as they were intended to be in the animation. The film's director, Gore Verbinski, called this process a sort of emotion capture, whereby this was then sent to the animators as footage for direct reference to recreate the actors' mannerisms, chemistry, and the way in which that they physically interacted with one another, all recreated digitally in CGI animated form for the big screen. Which leads us to the long drawn-out debate of whether digital cinema is to be seen as either a mimicry or a metamorphosis of traditional cinema. Is this referencing simply a copying of real life, like a camera simply mimics the real world through an infinitesimally long string of ones and zeros? Or is it something more, like how a skilled painter recreates the world in beautiful fashion via the aid of his camera obscura? Personally, I'd like to argue a little bit of both. The use of these modern digital systems does in fact mean that the performances of actors are no longer physically immortalized as crystals in light and captured through reels and reels of film. They are instead mimicked by thousands of red, green and blue pixels in accordance to a specific set of code. And as such, digital film could be perceived as film in name only. However, I would also argue that since digital film occupies a digital space, by the aid of modern CGI systems, the invention of new worlds that are pure fantasy is now a possibility where it wasn't before. This is supported by French-Swiss film director Jean-Luc Godard, as he describes digital cinema's metamorphic operativeness, crossing the boundaries between the arts and denying the specificity of materials. Popular films like Avatar, the Avengers movies, and even Rango simply wouldn't have been possible without the aid of digital systems, and have evolved out from this new age of cinematic expression. A metamorphosis of the film industry at its core, the traditional to the digital. In the words of digital pioneer George Lucas,
digital is, I felt at that point, the quality was close enough to film that I wasn't going to end up with any less of an image, but the process itself is so much more malleable, so much easier to use.
So, in conclusion, to tie everything back to our good friends Dr. Cohen and Godard, the recent explosion of creativity in the film industry that led to the innovative production of Rango can be accredited to how digital cinema does in fact facilitate the inspired recreation of the contemporary world through a filmic means. The particular way in which this medium is accessed is ultimately irrelevant, provided there always remains a strong motivation of artistic expression, as there has always been throughout the evolutionary metamorphosis of the film industry, from its inception to the modern day.